In today's video, we will be briefly discussing about Raymond B. Cattell's personality theory. His goal of forming this personality theory was to understand how a human being would react to the given stimulus around them and what role does their personality play in the ways they react to the environmental stimuluses and to each other in among their interpersonal relationship, etc. Let's look about what the personality theory was all about. Now let's see how Raymond Cattell classified traits. The first one is common traits. Now this is something everyone shares to some degrees. For example, everyone must have some measure of intelligence or some measure of extraversion. Even though their degrees might differ, everyone will have it, right? The next one is unique traits. Each of us has unique traits that distinguishes us as an individual. For example, a liking for a political interest. For example, some people will like cricket and some people might not. That could be their unique trait. The next one is ability trait. The skills and abilities that defines how we can work and who we are our ability traits. Now coming to temperament traits, our emotions and feelings, whether we are assertive, fretful, helps determine how we react to people around in different situations. Now talking about dynamic traits is something that forces our underlying or motivates our drives or behaviors. Now talking about surface traits, characteristics composed of any number of source traits or behavioral elements. They may be unstable or impairment, weakening or strengthening in response to different situations. Now talking about source traits, single, stable, permanent elements of our behaviors. Constitutional traits, source traits that have a biological origin, such as behaviors that results from drinking too much alcohol, could be termed as constitutional traits. Now the next one is environmentally molded traits, which are source traits which have an environmental origin. So the constitutional traits have a biological origin and environmentally molded traits, like the name itself suggests, will have an environmental origin. For example, the behaviors which results from peer pressure or influence from friends, etc. Now let's talk about how Cattell defines the stages of personality development. It starts from birth to the age of 6, the first stage being called infancy. Weaning, toilet training, formation of ego, superego being the moral side of the development, and then social attitudes are the things which are developed during this stage. The second one is from 6 to 14, which is called as the childhood stage. This is where the child becomes independent from the parents and identifies peers as the elements of their life as well. Now coming to 14 to 23, the stage called as adolescence, conflicts about independence and self-assertion and sex. This is where they identify themselves as independent from their peers as well as their family and parents. The next one is called the maturity stage, which starts at the age of 23 and begins till the age of 50, where satisfaction with career, marriage, and family plays an important role. The last one is from the age 50 to 65, which is called as the late maturity. Personality changes in response to physical and social circumstances in this stage. The last one comes after the age of 65 is called as the old age. Adjustment to loss of friends, career, and status is something which the person deals with at this stage, and it also leads to personality development. So these were the stages that were told by Cattell as the development of as in how personality develops over a time period in a person's life. Now, let's discuss about the assessments that Cattell used to measure personality or to make his theory about personality. The first one is life data or L data, which involves collecting data from an individual's natural everyday life behavior, measuring their characteristics, behavior patterns in the real world. The next one is experimental data, also called as the T data, which involves reactions to standardized experimental situations created in a lab where a subject's behavior can be objectively observed and measured. The third one is questionnaire data or Q data, which involves responses based on introspection by which individual about their own behavior as well as feelings. He found that this kind of direct questioning often measured subtle internal states and viewpoints that might be hard to see or measure in external behavior. So, this could be something that the person fills through a self filled questionnaire. To conclude with, Raymond B. Cattell revolutionized the personality theory by focusing on traits. He identified 16 core personality factors like warmth, reasoning, emotional stability, etc. These traits fall into two types: surface traits, which are visible behaviors, and source traits, the deeper patterns of how an individual behaves. He also distinguished between unique traits, which are unique to all of us, and common traits, which all of us share to some extent, which might differ in different degrees. So, he also laid the foundation for some of the modern personality assessments like the 16-factor personality assessment, which is widely used in current world. With that, we end this brief discussion on Raymond Cattell's personality theory.